Alright, so somebody sent me a message about the Japanese martial arts. I guess he saw some videos I made out there where I talked a lot of trash about the Japanese martial arts. And he's saying from his experiences, he had a lot of positive experiences with some of these Japanese martial arts, and he's wondering why I said those things. Alright, so, understand that anytime anybody generalizes anything, there's always going to be like part of the truth and part of it is false. Like, you can't, there's no such thing as truth in generalizations. So just the fact of labeling, speaking of Japan, positive or negative, if you speak positive about Japan, then you're ignoring the negative, and that's not totally true. If you speak negative about Japan, then you're ignoring the positive, and that's not positive. That's not completely true either. So basically, this negative stuff I said about the Japanese martial arts, there's some truth to it, but there are positive things about Japan, but based on my limited information of what has been fed to me by media and what I've researched, there's a huge history between Japan and China, and it's not a pretty one. Okay, so there's something called the rape of Nanking, where the Japanese went into China and just started to kill a bunch of Chinese people for no reason other than just maybe trying to take over territory. So basically, back in the day, not present time, but back in the day, Japan was very, very aggressive and violent, and they wanted to take over China and other countries. So if you look into history, if you know about Pearl Harbor, the Japanese tried to bomb America. I mean, they did bomb America. But then at the same time, back then I felt bad for the Japanese for, to receive the atom bomb. But then I found out about the rape of Nanking and all these other things, and it pretty much makes sense. You put so much aggressive, violent energy out there, it's going to come back to you. So then America just bombs Japan, and then kills thousands of people. So basically, the way that I see it is that Japan is the biggest bully next to America, as far as their actions of the past, of what I know. America is the biggest bully of them all, the strongest military, pretty much the most money. They could just destroy any country that they want. Nobody messes with America. Japan tried to mess with America, and then they got the atom bombs, 2 of them delivered to them, and then they knew to back down. They ain't messing with America. But Japan is pretty hardcore, as far as what they, from history. If you look at these Bruce Lee movies as well, he's always fighting the Japanese because the Japanese are bullying the Chinese. And even this Yip Man movie, these Yip Man movies are demonstrating what Japan did to China and how there's a lot of animosity between Japan and China. So there's not a good history there, right? Now, I'm just judging it based on that. But then there's something else that I also know that I've read about, is where Japan would basically everything that comes from Japan comes from China. They learn from China, and then they kind of make it their own. So they would take from China what they like, and they would either keep it, or they would make it better. So basically, Buddha's teachings went from India to China and then to Japan. And China would basically, the government was maybe corrupt, and then they would have all his teachings burned, but then Japan would keep it alive. They would protect those teachings and promote it. So I give Japan credit for that. And Japan is known for Zen, which in Japanese means meditation. So Japan harnessed those teachings of meditation as well, and I gave them great credit for that. Aikido is a Japanese. The founder of Aikido is from Japan. Aikido is considered a Japanese martial art. I give thumbs up to Aikido. Okay? Now, what else is Japanese? Ninjutsu, which is like teaching people to be assassins. That gets a thumbs down. Okay? In my opinion. Samurai, with the samurai code and the honor, and like the Last Samurai, if you watch that movie, and what they value and what they're trying to teach, and basically the samurai like code of ethics or honor or loyalty to their master. Thumbs up to that. Okay? Now jujitsu, which is basically like ninjutsu, pretty much. Jujitsu is just all about like deadly techniques but with no spirit. Thumbs down to that. Judo, which is from Japan, which is supposed to follow the way, which is supposed to be like a more peaceful expression of jujitsu, which is following the way of like judo, following the way of taekwondo, following the way of jikundo, following the way of aikido. Thumbs up to judo. Okay, so there's good things about Japan, and there's really negative things about Japan. And just like anywhere you go to America, there's the ghettos that are very violent, a bunch of shootings, and then there's the good parts of America. Same thing with Japan, you know what I mean? So not everything out of Japan is evil, but not everything is good either. They did some horrible things in the past, and it's not just Japan, but America too. China as well. China's not completely innocent. China, I heard some horrible things about the government and what they do to the practitioners of Falun Gong, for example. And I hear some horrible things about what China is doing to the Dalai Lama and Tibet and things like that. And hear horrible things about China and what they're suppressing, like freedom of speech. So there's a lot of things going on with China that's not good. There's a lot of things going on in Japan, a lot of things going on in America. So really, but it is, to me, it's pretty clear that Japan like thoroughly corrupted a lot of the original teachings of the martial arts that came from China. And karate actually meant the Chinese fist, which is it's basically been the Japanese interpretation of the Chinese martial arts. And then now they changed it to like empty hand combat, whatever the case may be. But it started from their interpretation of these Chinese martial arts, and the Chinese martial arts are the foundation of it all. And it's more pure. It's you see more of the balance between yin and yang, and Japan doesn't really have much of that balance. A lot of it is thoroughly corrupted. A lot of the karate expression is extremely too hard, too much yang. And then you look at things like ninjutsu and jujitsu and all these very hard, like aggressive and violent expressions. But then you have certain founders, such as the founder of Aikido and Judo, where they were able to try to balance it out to how it's supposed to be. So that's my thoughts on it. And I see, from what I see, the energy that I get, that China's more of like a balance, and then Japan's more like too much yang, and then America's like yang to the extreme. It's like basically China's more of a balance where they're not a bully, and then they're not like weak either, and then Japan's like a bully, and then America's like the biggest bully. That's what I see. And basically these bullies destroy the martial arts. They turn it into something very ugly, and then it just turns into like expressions of violence. That's That's like my feedback based on the information that I've been receiving from multiple media sources and outlets that's been feeding me this information, you know. And clearly Japan is not the birthplace to the martial arts. It clearly is not. You know, it's just basically taking a lot of the stuff, taking everything that they have from their martial arts, from the way that they speak, from the way that they write their you know, their written language. It's all coming out of China, and then they're just basically, there's people that are using it and turning it into something ugly, and then there's people that are using it and turning it into something beautiful. And then there's corruption, and then there's something that's good, and then it's just what's going on over there. You know, essentially Japan and China to me is just more like one. Like they're merged together. I see there's this kind of stupid and pointless to make a differentiate between China, Thailand, Japan, Cambodia, Vietnam, Korea. I see that it's all together. You know what I'm saying? And then you just got people that are just basically taking something and either corrupting it and making it worse, or taking it and retaining it, the purity of it, or taking it and making it even better. You know, something even to a higher level. You know, but not all of Japan is evil, but I clearly see some problems with their expression in regards to the martial arts.